Rugrats Royal Ransom on the PS2 is a very average game. Let's just get that out the way so the die-hard fans that see no fault with it can dislike my video and carry on with their rose-tinted lives. It's not the absolute worst game I've ever played, though at times it felt like it, but it's certainly a forgettable and fairly boring experience as far as action-adventure titles go. However, I do understand why people have such a fondness for it, given it was a game based on a beloved children's television series about babies with wild imaginations. The game itself is colourful and full of the charm that made the show so popular, and undoubtedly there are fans of Rugrats Search for Reptar on the PS1 that naturally moved on to this. I myself am a big fan of both, having watched the show religiously and received Search for Reptar as a Christmas present way back in 1998. And let me tell those of you who've never played it, that game is not perfect by any means. The collision detection is horrific, the camera doesn't want to play ball half the time, and some of the challenges can be extremely difficult, especially when you consider this is a game for tiny tots. But there's one key difference between Search for Reptar and Royal Ransom that makes the PS1 game a much more enjoyable experience. Search for Reptar is about 1.5 to 2 hours long. Royal Ransom, however, took me over 4 hours to finish, and that's even after I intentionally missed out on a number of levels because I just wanted the experience to be over and done with. This is the game's biggest issue in my opinion. It's far too long for what it is. Now, it's not like I have the attention span of a disinterested toddler, and in fact I wouldn't have minded the game's length if it weren't for two other damning factors. One, the long-winded and at times repetitive gameplay.
Why are we still here?
And two, backtracking. I hate backtracking, especially when it's made a necessity in order to be able to progress further into a game. You should not be locked out of future levels solely because you didn't spend 20 minutes sticking your nose into every nook and cranny of the previous. If I've made it to the end of one level, I gosh darn well expect the next one to be accessible straight away. So realising I had to retrace my steps rather early on in Royal Ransom, I knew I was in for a bad time. So, Rugrats Royal Ransom is a game developed by Avalanche Software and published by THQ. You may know the developers from titles such as the Tak series and many Disney tie-in games. Royal Ransom was released in late 2002 for both the PS2 and GameCube, and was the only game in the franchise to be developed for said consoles. Starting up the game and reaching the title screen, you'd be forgiven for thinking you were in for a real treat, especially with that nostalgic Rugrats theme playing in the background. And by the way, this expansive view you get of the world from the Pickles' backyard, take it in while you can, because this is about the only time during Royal Ransom that you can see this far into the horizon without the game having a heart attack. Any time the camera zooms out to give you your bearings, the frame rate absolutely cacks itself, making some of the trickier platforming sections a real slog to get through.
Okay.
Thankfully, the jump ability is incredibly forgiving, so you can quickly hop back to a previous platform if you know you're not going to make it. But still, the game shouldn't be this difficult to maneuver through solely because of frame rate issues. It's a shame because I actually find the graphics style for Royal Ransom quite pleasing to the eye. I assumed it was just the title screen that would look this polished, but no! The graphics do hold up throughout Royal Ransom, with the odd glitch here and there of course.
What the hell's going on? What the hell is going on?
Sure, there'll be some people that consider it hideous, comparing it to the graphics of Spyro Enter the Dragonfly, and critics complained about the simple environments and repeating textures. But to be honest, I never saw these as an issue. In fact, I barely noticed them. Not to mention the graphic style works in the game's favour when you consider the look of the Rugrats show itself, which Avalanche Software's artists did a fantastic job at recreating in Royal Ransom. Except when you're looking at the character models themselves. I don't know what it is. It could be their smooth plastic skin, their huge bulging eyeballs, or the fact Angelica here is doing her best impression of Momo, but there's something about the character models that is really unsettling to me. Thankfully, they're only this disturbing and up close during cutscenes, which are few and far between in Royal Ransom, so we can all sleep a little better tonight. So there aren't many options in the title screen. In fact, there aren't any options at all, technically. You only have the choice of starting a game, playing silly stuff, which I thought was this entire game to be honest, or watching about 14 million ads for various other Nickelodeon tie-in games. And yes, of course I've added them to my list for future reviews. I mean, just look how intense Rocket Power Beach Bandits is!
There is no God.
You're given 3 difficulty settings for Royal Ransom, and depending on the difficulty you choose, you'll either see more or less enemies and hazards, pickups such as health and coins, and it will even affect how many batteries you need to progress further into the game. Something I wish I'd been informed of before I chose medium difficulty. You see, I personally wouldn't have called the most forgiving setting Baby Easy, because immediately, children and adults alike are going to avoid it, simply for the fact nobody wants to be labelled as a big baby who can't handle a game at its toughest. And let me tell you, Royal Ransom can be seriously challenging at times. I cannot imagine how many kids chose medium difficulty like I did for this very reason, only to find themselves horribly overwhelmed and having no fun whatsoever. I mean, I'm a grown-ass woman, and even I struggled with some of these minigames, to the point I got so mad I had to take a 5-minute breather. Oh, and in before somebody says, well, I played it on medium when I was 5 and I had no issues with it, you're just bad at games. So yeah, in retrospect, I would have chosen Baby Easy mode instead of Rugrat Medium, that way I wouldn't have been forced to play this depressingly monotonous game for as long as I did. So once you've chosen a difficulty setting, the game begins, and we're treated to the first and one of the only cutscenes of the game. Stu Pickles has come up with yet another invention, the Play Palace 3000.
The ultimate in Playland technology.
Hate to say it, son, but it doesn't look like much to me.
That's because it's in its dormant state, Pop. Watch this.
We then get a bit of the innuendo humour that Rugrats is well known for.
The PP3K can expand to fit almost any space. You should see it when it's fully extended.
Nice work, son. Nothing exploded. And that tower looks fit for a queen.
I've just got to put the finishing touches on it. Could you watch the kids while I run to the store for duct tape and paper clips?
And then the usual antics happen. Grandpa Lou inevitably falls asleep, leaving the babies to check out the play palace, but not before Angelica removes the ladder and proclaims herself the queen. She also reveals she's stolen the babies' cherished possessions, and won't return them unless they become her
loyal suspects,
leaving the gang no choice but to stop her. Aside from the creepy character models, it's a surprisingly enjoyable cutscene to watch, filled with the dialogue, humour, and hijinks we've come to expect from a typical Rugrats episode. It's just a shame there's so few of them. It would have been nice to have a cutscene for each new level, but I suppose that is pushing the boat out a bit for a TV series tie-in game. So, Royal Ransom officially begins, and apparently all these babies have nappy rash or something, because they will not stop scratching their arses. Oh god, it's Shrek Treasure Hunt all over again. The controls are very simple, and even though you can swap between babies by tapping square in the main hub area, there's no real need to do so, as regardless of who you pick, they all use the same mechanics. It's really down to whoever was your favourite in the show, which is disappointing really, as having characters with varied abilities could have been a great way to spice up the game and stop it from feeling so repetitive. And even though they all play the same way, you'll quickly grow tired of certain characters due to the irritating and pointless voice lines they spout over
prettiful children,
and over
prettiful children,
and over.
You need to shut the fuck up!
You mean to tell me you actually got the voice actors from the show to do the characters' voices for the game, but you couldn't give them more than a few lines each? And I swear, all these babies do is complain. You stop for as much as a few seconds, and said baby will whinge at you for taking too long, with Phil being the absolute worst.
hurry up! I could be winning right now!
Do you want a fucking slap, mate? Because trust me, I am not above punching a baby right now. Back to the controls, it seems the gang have taken far too much inspiration from Overwatch, as each can perform not only a Genji double jump by tapping X and then X again, but even a McCree combat roll with circle.
It's high noon.
There are other controls in the game, such as the dipey bounce and even a first-person camera mode, but given I never used the former, and the latter is only used to look around your environment, there's no real need to go into further detail about them. Now, in order to access the Play Palace and ultimately the levels housed within, you have to pay 100 gold coins, which are found scattered throughout each level. The game does start you with a few hundred to get you going, but if you find yourself running low for whatever reason,
You're gonna have a bad time.
See, the problem with this system, especially on harder settings, is that if you fail a challenge, you're sent back to the bottom of the Play Palace, which means you have to pay another 100 gold coins to climb back up. And if you run out of gold coins,
Game over, man. It's game over.
not to mention there are fewer coins to find on medium and hard, and when I say 100, I mean you have to physically collect 100 coins from wherever you can. There are no coins that have a higher value like the various coloured gems in the Spyro series, each is worth 1 coin and 1 coin only. So if you are in danger of running out, you'll have to visit multiple levels to collect enough to be safe. Honestly, what a stupid system that's obviously been implemented to force you to spend as much time in the game as possible. It's clear this was only put in as a time sink. And bearing in mind this is a kids game, it's an incredibly unfair and more importantly unfun mechanic that only exacerbates the backtracking issues I have with Royal Ransom. And that's not the only time sink in this game. Now, collecting the large batteries to power up higher tiers of the palace I can understand, and for the most part they're fairly easy to come by, being rewarded to you when you finish a level. But whoever in the development team thought it was a great idea to lock off newer levels with a small battery requirement?
Fuck you.
This is why I ended up having to backtrack as much as I did. Like coins, small batteries can be found in each level, but there's usually only 2 or 3 of them, and they tend to be well hidden. And once you get to the higher tier levels, you're going to need all the small batteries you can find, which means backtracking through levels you absolutely despise. The biggest problem with this forced collectathon, however, is that some of the levels are huge. That doesn't sound like a bad thing, until you have to watch a baby slowly toddle their way from one end of the map to the other. There is absolutely no reason for the levels to be this colossal when all the developers do with the space is scatter the collectibles to the far corners of the earth. And especially when you consider most levels are based around one challenge, and one challenge only. It's not like Spyro, where you have a main objective alongside multiple minigames. You've come to this level with a single goal in mind. So why is everything so spread out? Take, for example, the Temple of the Lamp level. The objective here is to collect 55 rubies. Not 40, Susie, you lying cowbag.
But if you can collect 40 rubies, the gate will magically open.
Wrong.
Now, 55 is already an excessive number for a game whose demographic aren't exactly known for their patience. But it's made even worse by not only the size of the level and spread of the gems, but the fact most collectibles are located atop buildings, which require either rope climbing or bouncing of some sort to reach. And let me tell you, the platforming in Royal Ransom can be hellish at times, mainly due to awful camera placement and your shadow not lining up to where you're going to land. Oh, and I just found out, the reason Susie says 40 is because easy mode only has you collecting that amount. Medium is 55, while hard is an excessive 70 gems. You mean they couldn't even be bothered to get the voice actors to record different lines for medium and hard difficulty? Bloody hell, this game had no love put into it. Overall, Temple of the Lamp took me nearly 20 minutes to finish, which, like I said before, if it was filled with other mini-games and interesting puzzles, it wouldn't have been so mundane. But 20 minutes of trying to collect 55 gems, falling off platforms, and listening to the most irritating sound in the entire game? Yeah, no thanks. The worst level for this, however, was the second one I visited, No Place to Hide. Now, watching the flyby at the beginning, I have to admit I was genuinely intrigued by what I was going to find here, and couldn't wait to dig into what would be the staple for most of the levels in Royal Ransom. It's amazing how quickly the enthusiasm you have for a game can completely disappear, however, and it only took about 2 minutes of traversing Snow Place to Hide before I realised what Royal Ransom had in store for me.
Nothing!
For starters, most levels in this vein feature 2 enemies, one that's based on the level itself, and Angelica Jack-in-the-Boxes. That's it. The level-based enemies are easily taken out in one hit, usually by throwing something at them such as snowballs at the snowmen here, because that makes sense, and the Jack-in-the-Boxes can be avoided entirely by just not going near them. And that's all you do, for this level at least. You walk along this path, you occasionally throw a snowball at a snowman, a jack-in-the-box, or an ice block to get at the goodies inside, you find the key, and you open the chest. Even describing it in as little detail as that is giving Royal Ransom far too much credit. This is honestly so bloody boring that I was seriously debating on whether or not to finish the game before I'd even got to the end of this level. And the whole experience is made even worse by the repetitive line-spouting snowmen, the invisible walls and god-awful slide mechanics that are far too sensitive for their own good, and the ski lift, which admittedly did give an impressive view of the level, but went on for far too long and was much too easy to jump back onto, which I accidentally did as soon as I got to the top of the mountain, forcing another inescapable 45-second ride back down to the bottom. Not every level plays out the same way, however, and I did find 1 or 2 of them fairly enjoyable, Rex riding in particular because dinosaurs! Now, I will admit, I thought this level was glitched at first, because every time I tried to go near one of the Rexes, they'd moonwalk away from me. Aside from that, however, the level is quite entertaining, requiring you to ride one of the Rexes and find a number of bones scattered throughout the level before bringing them back to the bone pile. The Rex is pretty fast and you can't get it to stop once it gets going, but in my opinion that just adds to the fun. The only time this level was a pain in the arse was when you'd end up on the far side of the map in search of a bone, only to have your Rex crash and disappear, forcing you to slowly waddle your way back to find another Rex. This was one of the few instances that I actually enjoyed a vehicle-based level, however. The rest, at least the ones I attempted, were incredibly infuriating for various reasons. Sub-a-Dub-Dub was honestly ridiculous, with an awkward control system that took a death, a temporary rage quit, and many collisions to get used to. And then there was Rugrat Rug Race. You know what, I'll just show you some clips to give you an idea of what I had to deal with in this level. Even the final boss battle consists of you riding around in an awkward, physics-defying catapult, with the only goal being finding switches, standing on them, and launching a projectile at the newly opened gate. This went on for over 20 minutes. It was so tedious and asinine, it sucked what little hope I had left for this game right out of my soul, and made me so angry I couldn't even be asked to stay seated for the ending. But nothing could have prepared me for the cream pie flyer level. What a steaming pile of crap. The goal here is to take out the clowns, which are either hiding in the rafters or in their little clown vans. Shooting the vans will knock a clown out of it, and shooting said clown with a pie will finish him off. The problem with this level is not only is it incredibly difficult to aim the pies at, well, anything, the plane itself feels awful to control. It turns like an 18-wheeler. If you even so much as slightly press the analog stick when trying to fly in a straight line, the plane jitters and wobbles all over the place. And this is all exacerbated by the lethargic camera that does not want to keep up with the action. You know what, I am sick and tired of talking about this game, but I still have a massive list of angry points to make, which I feel I need to share with you. So instead of going into great detail about each one, because this game seriously does not deserve any more of my time, I'm going to list them off with a few examples. So let's start with the race levels. Of the few I did, I can safely say most of them suck. I did manage to finish them all first try, but it was such a close call on each one that I never felt satisfied I'd done a good job. And the combination of awkward to control vehicles, far too many obstacles to avoid, and at times a sharp drop in frame rate, meant my experience was altogether not a very pleasant one, to put it mildly. And just because they royally pissed me off, haha, see what I did there? Let's make mention of the ridiculous amount of dodgy platforming levels like Meanie Genie and Acrobati Dash expect you to pull off. I have to reiterate this point. This is a game for kids. And yet this entire section of unwieldy, heart-stopping platforming in Meanie Genie took me nearly 10 minutes. That's with just one death, by the way. 10 bloody minutes of stress-inducing jumping, hard-to-avoid hazards that can lock you in a continuous loop of taking damage until they turn off, and a camera that I swear was doing everything in its power to try and kill me. But you know what? At least I could take my time with Meanie Genie and think about where I was going to jump next. Acrobati Dash awarded me no such luxury, instead forcing upon me a rather unforgiving timer and some of the most aggravating mechanics Royal Ransom has to offer.
I'm triggered.
While jumping felt smooth, responsive, and most importantly, incredibly forgiving, I can't say the same for the rest of the abilities. Why, for example, does the auto lock-on only work when it feels like it? Bear in mind, I can't manually aim or lock on in any way. I have to rely on the game to do it for me, which it either decides it's not really in the mood for, or it'll lock on to a jack-in-the-box posing no threat in the background, while the big bad enemy in front of me is getting ready to tear me a new arsehole. And oh my god, if you're going to make a game so heavily reliant on collecting stuff, 1. Don't make me have to stand around waiting for a coin to appear on a defeated enemy, and 2. Don't make said coin unobtainable for a few seconds after it spawns either. I think I need a coffee. You know what? You guys watch the ending cutscene. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Hey! Woo-hoo! You look like a great big chocolatey cake. A cake? I'm a queen! Not no more, Angelica. But now that we got my daddy's invention opened up, we can all play in it. But Angelica, maybe you should go back to the ocean and take a bathy firstest. Yeah, you could use your bubble soap for shampoo. And use lots of it. Ugh, I gotta get me some new babies. These ones are getting too smarty pants for my own good.
And that's Rugrats Royal Ransom on the PS2. What an incredible waste of 4 hours of my life that was. Like I said at the beginning of this review, it's a very average game that does a few things right in terms of graphics, humour, and that Rugrats spark of imagination that we've all come to know and love from the show. But that's all I can say in its favour. The challenges are nothing new for the genre, with similar being found in the Spyro, Crash and Mario series. And the gameplay is so rage-inducing at times, especially with the dodgy camera placement, frame rate drops, and hard-to-land platforming, that it's difficult to see past all that and truly enjoy the positives. I don't think I've ever played a game that split into levels like this, where I couldn't be asked to visit them all. I never even saw the medieval and moon levels, and you know what? I just don't care. Partly because I don't think I'd be treated to anything new if I did visit them, but mainly because I cannot bear to spend another minute playing this tragically dull game. Overall, Rugrats Royal Ransom is a mediocre and forgettable game that sadly doesn't bring anything new to the action-adventure table. But Tori, I played it when I was 5 on hard difficulty and—
Shut the fuck up!
Shout out to supporters Klaxon, Thomas Hinton, Jeffrey Thomas, Ray Zack, Mr. Zugador, Ross Ward, Samuel DeBoss, Poplio the Destroyer, Merendor, Trevor, and Oblivion. Thank you to everyone who continues to support the channel in any way, whether it's on Patreon with the donations every month, whether you're a YouTube member, whether you just come back to watch every single video I make. Always leave a comment, always leave a like, share it with your friends. All that stuff is so friggin' awesome and it makes me really, really happy, and it just keeps me motivated to keep making these videos no matter how silly they are. So yeah, thank you once again guys, I really, really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a good day. Ta-ta!